Hello, welcome everybody.
Hello.
We welcome you to today's Zoom Live with us in this MOOC, English Pronunciation in a Global World. Joining us today to answer participant questions is our educator, Dr. Laura Rupp. She's a senior lecturer here at the Freie Universität working in English linguistics. Laura, a very warm welcome to you.
Thank you so much. And so I'm really happy that we can organize this live meeting to actually meet some of the participants. And I wanted to say to everybody, so also those of you who were not able to join the meeting, who maybe watched the video later on, the recording later on, that we are so happy and pleased that you have been joining the course and that you have been participating so actively, commenting, also helping one another out by replying to comments yourselves and also by peer reviewing one another's pronunciation. And so especially, we cannot say it, stress it enough. So during these difficult times, we're very happy that we can in a way exploit the online society by presenting and being in this MOOC together and forming a community in this way. So that's, yeah, really great.
Indeed, Laura, especially at times like these when we really need each other to come together as a community and help each other out. I'm of course Amrita. I'm a mentor on this wonderful course that I've collaborated with Laura. And we welcome you all to today's session. Some housekeeping rules. Please keep your microphones on mute for the entirety of the session. You can ask questions. Please type them out on the chat window. The chat button is the third button at the bottom of your Zoom screen. I will be selecting a few questions for Laura to answer from the chat sessions. We'll try to answer as many as we can in the next 1 hour. We apologize if your question has not been answered. Please proceed to ask them in our Ask Your Educators section. And please be mindful that your microphone must be on silent, otherwise it will be very difficult to manage this large meeting. We really appreciate you being here. So Laura, should we start with the first question?
Yes, let's do that, yes.
There's a question from Zan Malkar. He says, how to adopt your accent to be closer to some native one, thus making it seem more credible, but without making it sound too messy. That is a mixture of your original accent and the more native one that is not really consistent across sounds.
So it's a question about consistency, I think. So first of all, I wanted to say, so the question, the way that it is framed, so that so to develop a more native-like accent, because that is perhaps a more credible accent than a non-native accent. I wanted to stress or to highlight, and this is also what we've been trying to explain in the course, that this really applies to particular features from native accents, and also that it applies specifically to particular substitutions that some non-native speakers make in place of those native speakers. So it's certainly not to say that a native accent in general is more credible than a non-native accent. We're really attempting on the basis of empirical research to identify particular features that appear to have an effect on credibility, in the sense that people may remark on the features if you have them, or that they in one or the other way appear to be salient. And again, I wanted to stress that, so in this relation, I also wanted to say that that is just a fact of life, unfortunately, that people are still very much assessed or judged on the basis of the accent that they have, so on the basis of particular features that they may have in their accent. It's something that I, as a linguist, very much oppose. I very much oppose. So we cannot say that objectively particular pronunciation features are more credible than others. Yeah, it's just very much a subjective matter. So the way that particular features are judged within society. But having said this, I find it important. So if people would be looking for particular jobs or would be in a way assessed on the basis of their accent, then for them to be aware of those features that empirical research have shown appear to have an effect on credibility. So that's one part of my answer regarding credibility, and the other part is that remind me of the participant's name, please, Amrita.
This is Zan.
Zan, yes, exactly.
Zan.
Yeah, so Zan. I also want to say regarding the messiness, so you're worried about your accent perhaps being messy if you're attempting to develop a more native-like accent, or at least I would say try to develop features that might impact intelligibility or credibility. Of course, it's impossible to change your accent overnight or to develop particular features overnight. So that takes time. So of course, for a period of time, you will show some variability. And yeah, to call that messy, I don't know. Or inconsistent. This is also very frequently a question that is being presented to us. Should I speak either with a British or American accent, or rhotic or non-rhotic accent, because my accent should be consistent? And I just wanted to point out to you that even native speakers of English vary in their pronunciation. Then it's not called messy, but then it's called language variation. So they might show different features depending on many social factors. So for instance, depending on the formality of the situation, or depending on the particular group that they wish to associate with, or on the or speaking in a particular style. Right. So with native speakers also, you will still find variation. Yeah, so variation in using particular features depending on social factors. And that is very much a natural property of language use, I would say. So I wouldn't be too worried about that. I'm not worried about it whatsoever. Again, but I can perfectly imagine that you're worried about this because, as I said, because of particular attitudes towards accent in society, which I very much oppose, and it's fighting a war, and here to use that kind of metaphor. Or a fight, let me put it that way. And I hope that the more linguists will speak out in this way, because there are many linguists that think the same way, that maybe we can try to change that attitude over a longer period of time.
Indeed, and that's so important to keep in mind also, that we retain that kind of uniqueness that is true to us. I have another question for you, this time from Marco Burla. And he says, I don't understand if it's better to focus on learning in a rhotic or in a non-rhotic accent, which is kind of, connects to what you were saying earlier, and using prevalently one of them. Or is it better using both accents interchangeably? Some opinions about that.
Yeah, so yeah, it relates very much to what we were just discussing.
Yes.
So should we have either a rhotic or non-rhotic accent, or a mixture thereof? I think a mixture thereof is perfectly fine. You find that sometimes people who can speak both with a rhotic and a non-rhotic accent, that they use the one or the other depending on the people they're communicating with.
Yeah.
So as far as the empirical research is concerned, so I've been pointing out, so this course very much tries to take into considerations the findings from empirical research. So does it affect intelligibility potentially, or credibility? Not so much is known about rhoticity.
Yeah.
So where intelligibility or credibility are concerned, I'd say there's no evidence from empirical research that one or the other is more intelligible or more perceived as more credible by others. What I frequently find amongst non-native speakers of English is that they prefer to have a rhotic accent, because many other languages are rhotic, and also because then, basically everything that occurs in where R occurs in spelling, then you also pronounce it.
Right. I also see that there is one question from Kay Cocker in the chat, and it says, is it okay to use both accents?
Yes, of course. Yes.
I do it all the time, and
Yeah.
I do it quite proudly because I feel like I come from everywhere. So
Yeah.
it's just sort of representative of who I am. Is that okay to do, Laura? Is that acceptable?
Yeah, I think that's perfectly fine to do. I find that I think it only developed because I did my PhD in England. So I kind of, just because of the exposure to a non-rhotic accent, or because I was in much contact with people with a non-rhotic accent, I also developed myself, I would say generally a non-rhotic accent, but I can still hear that I also vary. Depending again on the formality of the situation. If I'm being interviewed for a job interview, for instance, I would be very aware of it. If I'm among friends or with people who have a rhotic accent, then maybe I pronounce R more.
Yeah.
And like you're saying, it's also very much part of who we are, right?
Yeah, very true. I also find that whoever I'm talking to, my accent fluctuates with that as well.
Yeah.
It starts.
It's accommodating. Yeah. And we also find that sometimes, I also find this, that when I meet with somebody who has a kind of different accent than I have, but also, for instance, a different grammar, then sometimes I'm using grammatical constructions that I wouldn't actually use myself when speaking English, but it's just because of the contact and accommodation to other people that might occur.
I'll move on to the next question so that we can cover as many as we can.
Yes, of course.
There's Ross Vargas. I think I also noticed that Ross has also joined our meeting. She says the question is, what is a standard English accent and what makes it so prestigious and desirable? I think that's very important to address. How many people have this accent in comparison to how many people in the world use English as a means of communication? So is this standard English accent really a majority or a minority voice? And of course, she leaves it open, saying it would be highly interesting to debate this because I can imagine it's an open topic.
Yes.
But I wanted to get your opinion on this, Laura.
It certainly is. Well, first of all, we can say that there are there's more than one standard English accent. So we have a standard English accent in England and in the United States also, and those two differ. So answering one of the parts of the question, so how many people speak? So if I focus on the standard British English accent for the moment, because I'm more familiar with that and the number of people who speak with a general American accent, the estimates differ, but it's certainly a minority of the people, and I think the current estimate is that about 3% only of English speakers in England have this standard British.
Only 3%.
Only 3%, yeah. Unfortunately, I don't have the picture with me, but it's frequently depicted as a kind of triangle.
Right.
So here at the top are the people who speak with the standard British English accent, and only really a minority of the people. And then otherwise you have people varying, so having various more regional or social accents. So it's really
So Ross actually responds saying, wow, that's eye-opening.
Yeah. And Ross,
for me too, Ross.
And Ross, if you're interested, I can, I will find it for you, but there's literature on this by a well-known social linguist from the UK. His name is Peter Trudgill, and he's written a lot about the standard English accent or British English accent. But it's a minority. It's really few people. Yeah. And also, I would say that. So, what is the standard British accent? It was long as known this accent known as received pronunciation, or RP. That you can still hear, like the Queen of England still has an RP accent. But it's also thought, and again, so linguistic research has shown that this accent is also slowly changing towards so adopting more features, regional features from London.
Yeah, because Graham Smith, he tells us that I would say Stephen Fry has a standard although he doesn't like the word standard, neither do
Yeah.
I.
Yeah.
English accent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So why is it standard English accent? It's because it's not for, this is also what I also always try to convince my students of. So why is accent, how does it become a standard accent? Or also, as for the grammar, where grammar is concerned, how does grammar become standard? It's so written standard, and it has to do very much with it has everything to do with social and with politics, right? So it's really the accent that becomes the standard accent is the accent that is spoken by the most powerful people at a particular time. So what is nowadays the standard British accent is associated with the London area,
right?
The London region, and of course this was not the case in Old English yet, but in Middle English period, then London became the capital of the country. Right. And because of this, so the most powerful region in the country, the London area. And therefore the accent or the English that was spoken by the people from London, that became then the standard. And then, so at first it was more like a regional accent, and then it came to be associated more with particular social groups in society. Yeah. So nowadays the standard British English accent is no longer associated just with London, but it's spoken by people in particular social layers in within England. And then subsequently, because an accent becomes standard, then it becomes most prestigious. And then because it's being spoken by, let's say, the most powerful people within a particular region, it is, people start to think that standard accent is also, from a linguistic point of view, the most correct, or the most sophisticated, or the most beautiful, or the best accent that there is. Whereas from a linguistic point of view, that's just not true at all. Yeah, so from a linguistic point of view, all different accents, they are the same. Right. They are the same. It's not one better than the other.
Yeah, I have a related question from Yulia Kantorova. She says, is it something like standard Australian or standard Canadian accent recognized by linguists?
Standard Canadian, there's, with Canada, I think, both with Canada and also with Australia, there's very little regional variation. Yeah, so there's much more regional variation within the United States and within England. So whether it's officially recognized, I would have to look that up to be frank. But what I can say,
but definitely in the case of English, we do see that it's fascinating to observe that a small region can come to sort of dominate the entire landscape and have that sort of a power ratio.
And it's I think it's really unfortunate if people are not because they're not speaking standard accent or not a native accent. By the way, native is not the same as standard accent. So I always feel very I think it's unfortunate, and I always feel a little sad when people are wanting to adopt another accent because they think their accent is not good enough, or not sophisticated, or sometimes
I noticed that Joanna N had also written this. She says, I constantly feel fighting against the native speaker as the best. You know. So what would be your advice for somebody like Joanna who thinks that she's constantly fighting?
She's constantly fighting that native, So like I said, well, as a linguist, so by developing a course like this, for instance, informing people about what a native accent really is, or what a standard accent really is. We're slowly trying to change this particular attitude in society.
And that's not an easy task, you know.
It is not an easy task, but I think that maybe it is changing a little bit. because I also teach a pronunciation course at my own university, so VU University. And I noticed that when I started teaching there, which is already a long time ago, that all the students, they wish to have like a British English accent, or the standard British English accent, or perhaps an American English accent. And nowadays, I think more of my students say, no, we wish to have, if they're presented with the opportunity, right? So I ask them what kind of accent, so they come into the pronunciation class and I ask them what kind of accent would you like to have, maybe professionally or socially, and I make them choose. So would you like to develop standard British or general American, or perhaps a kind of more neutral accent, or an accent that has some features, personal features, and then they start thinking and they say, well, yeah, actually, then I find that many students these days, they do not or no longer wish to develop a standard British English or a general American accent.
Yeah. Yeah, so I have another question that's popped up. It's from Henrik.
Mm-hmm.
It sort of adds up, you know, there's some students who would like to proceed at a slower pace of learning, you know. And he also says, I want to practice English through reading passage as you provide in this course. How can I access the source and record my reading even if the course ends?
Yeah.
He's looking forward to your reply on this.
Yeah, so that's a good point if I understand the question correctly. So it's, I think there's a lot of material, a lot of information in the course, and a lot of material in the course and exercises to practice with. The idea was so we also provided articles in which, as it's called in Future Learn, in which we, and of course all our accents differ, but in which we aim to specify or to indicate. So depending on your background, so if you're a Spanish native speaker, or if you're a Dutch native speaker, or if you're a native speaker from India or from Greece, then you're likely, and we cannot say that we cannot generalize, say that's true for everyone, but given your native language, then you're likely to have these kind of difficulties or challenges, or you will tend to have these features from your native language in your English. And this also, when I teach native speakers of Dutch in my pronunciation course, then more or less they all suffer, let's put it that way, or they all have the same challenges, or they all have the same kind of difficulties. So from that detailed list, so the idea would be that you would see what kind of features you're likely to have in your accent, say if you were from Spain or if you were from Italy, and so on and so forth, and then make a selection. And then, because in the exercises, or in the exercises for vowels and in the exercises for consonants, I have included exercises, for all consonants or for all vowels. But you're not necessarily having difficulties with those consonants or those vowels. It depends on the particular background or native language that you have. So to then choose amongst those exercises, those exercises that apply to you, having that particular native language. So that's a way to go. So to make a selection of those exercises. And also the other thing I would say, so what we're trying to do, because 4 weeks, it's very short time, right? So you cannot expect to learn everything there's to learn about English pronunciation, and to maybe have done all the exercises, and then to then also have developed your accent in the way that you would like to develop it. So what we aim to do in this course is to provide you with the tools. So to, first of all, so to understand what is going on in your English pronunciation and that of other native speakers. And then to provide with some exercises by means of which you can then in the longer term attempt to develop your accent in the way that very much depending on your personal goals. And if you think that for now 4 weeks is not sufficient, which I could perfectly imagine, to do everything that you would like to do, then it's always possible to buy an upgrade for the course. And with an upgrade, you will have unlimited access to all of the material in the course. So then you can do it at a slower pace.
Indeed. Also, there's some participants who had asked if they can get individual feedback on their accents.
Yeah, I would love to do that. I would really love to do that because
we are currently at 11,234 active participants.
Yeah. So I very much like to do that. I do it with the students that I have in my pronunciation course at the Vrije Universiteit still. I like doing it very much because it's like a very so I sit down with the students, and like I said, I ask them, what kind of accent would you like to develop, or what features in your accent would you like to work on, and then we select a number of them, and then so this is like a first assessment, and then they go away and practice, and I help them practicing, and then we assess again. And I said I like it because it's just such a social and a personal thing, right? One's own accent.
Yeah.
And I also like very much to sort of find out what kind of accent suits somebody. But like we've been saying, it's just not possible to do that in a MOOC with all the different participants. But if you would really want to, and so therefore I should say this first. So therefore we've attempted to actually train everyone to be able to assess one another's accent in this peer review exercise. But if you would really like to have personal feedback from us, we offer a small workshop at Vrije Universiteit Amsterdam that we can now also do online. And we will provide a link, right? Perhaps in the email for
yes.
week 4.
Yeah.
We will provide a link to that workshop, and then you can have a look if you find that interesting.
I think that's a great idea. Then if you want to get personal feedback, to look at a workshop that you can build on post the MOOC.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so moving on to more questions. I also have another question from Lisa Klesova, who's been a very active participant. She said,
your voice is not coming.
Okay. Elif, you'll have to mute your microphone, and I think you'll have to switch on your audio for that. Thank you. So this is from Lisa. She says, amazingly, I discovered that there's quite a big difference between some vowels phonemes in B and AE. That's BE and AE. Perhaps this is the most remarkable thing. And then she goes on to say that thank you to the developers of the course. Indeed, it's pure joy. But I'd like to leave a wish for the future.
That's always good.
And the wish for the future is it would be very useful if lessons were provided with a video of professional articulation of sounds.
Where you can actually see.
Yeah,
and an animated video, or actually somebody like a person pronouncing the sounds.
She doesn't specify that, but I think she really wants to see an illustrative example of the position of the jaw, lips, and tongue. So yeah, I can imagine that being quite a mission for us to record those, because those are very expensive, and we offer, at least if you've not gone in for the extended course or the upgrade, then it's a free course for everybody. So I think Laura, can I get your views on this? Like, would that be a possibility to have that sort of a resource, or would that be just too expensive and too broad a thing to accomplish?
So we have it's a good question to think about, or a good suggestion.
Yeah.
So we have been the way that we the way that we build the course, or what we have assumed, is that we've explained so the image of a vowel diagram. So basically, from a vowel diagram, you can work out how a vowel is pronounced.
Yeah.
So this is the way that we've done it, and also with the consonants, we've described the way in which they are pronounced. But if that's not sufficient, so if you would really like I said, like to have some kind of animation of what happens in our oral cavity, or a person really pronouncing the sounds for you. I know there is there are videos made by an American. I don't know if she's actually a linguist, but I find her pronunciation videos are very good. And she actually pronounces the sounds in a kind of slow motion for you. And I think very well done. So also indicating the lips and the position of the tongue and the jaw and everything. So we'll include a link to those videos, and hopefully they will be helpful.
I think that'll be useful for the participants. Izzy is asking you, Laura, I have to take the IELTS exam, the IELTS exam. Good luck for that, Izzy. Yeah. There's a speaking section on the exam. Of course there is. I speak with an American accent in this section, but some of the words can be misunderstood. So we worked on this course. There's no distinction between long and short vowels in some words in the American accent. Do you have any advice?
Well, no, he can just keep his American accent.
Yeah, yeah.
That's perfectly okay. And it's true that I should explain this carefully. So it's true that, yeah, so if we're just comparing a rhotic versus a non-rhotic accent, then it's true that so speakers of a non-rhotic accent who are not pronouncing post-vocalic R,
yeah,
they generally lengthen their vowels, so their vowels will be longer,
yeah,
than in a rhotic American accent, for example. However, where vowel length really is important is where what we call linguists call where it's phonemic. Yeah, so where vowel length is the only fact. So if we have a minimal pair, like my back, for instance, and a handbag.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where vowel length, so the words are exactly the same, back and bag. It's just the vowel length that makes the difference, which is phonemic. So that means that we use the vowel length to create meaning.
Right.
Right. So there it is important to make a distinction, or to have this contrast between long and short vowels.
Yeah.
But I think that in his American accent, this will not apply.
Yeah.
So it's very good that he checked this.
Yeah. Elif is asking, I'm going to have PET exam. How can I study?
Ooh, what kind of exam is this?
I have no idea. Elif, could you tell us more about what sort of an exam is this? PET exam. We know about the IELTS, we know about TOEFL, we know about the Cambridge exam. So maybe you can put it in the chat. Okay, I think Elif's going to speak. Elif, could you tell us a little bit about the PET exam?
Yes, I'm going to skip. I'm having these exams when I was in second grade, and there are exams like starters, movers, flyers, cat, and pet. It's easier than, yes, I'm asking about Cambridge preliminary.
So what to do in this exam? I think it's just a little difficult for me to answer this on the spot. So I think it's best that you send us an email about it, and then I can just have a look at it more carefully.
Yeah. Joanna is saying PET is a Cambridge exam. I believe it's A2. Elif, what I'm going to advise you to do is, you have my email address. It's on the page, which has the Zoom link. Send me the details of it and I'll try to help you with it. Yeah. It has a speaking part, Elif says. Maybe help with how to speak clearly and credibly for that. Yeah.
Yes,
I think, Elif, I'm going to correspond to you over email for this, so that, you know, I can get the specific questions. It's part of the Cambridge assessment exams for international schools. So, okay, we have a picture about it. But you send me an email with your specific question and I am going to respond over email. Talking of emails, I do have some questions over email, Laura. This is, she says that this is from Edith Shaw. She says, hi, I'm Spanish. I've studied English for many years, but I haven't had many opportunities to speak. So I dropped off. And she got to know about our course through her daughter, who's studying Erasmus through the Freie Universität.
Oh, really? That's nice.
Yeah. Yeah, it's lovely. And she says her queries are the pronunciation of D in the past of regular verbs sometimes sounds to me like T.
Mm.
Is that correct? That's her
Wow, that is really a very good observation. Wow, that's really very advanced.
Yeah, good
Yeah,
question.
I can try and explain.
Yeah,
It's a very yeah, it's a good observation. So it's true indeed that so we look at the past tense ending, which yeah, it's written D, and the way that it is very much, as she said, pronounced as T sometimes, and this depends on the, so in ed ending, so the vowels, the vowel in that past tense ending is not pronounced.
right.
And then so the pronunciation of the past tense ending, so whether we pronounce it as voiceless d or voiced d or voiceless t, it depends on the preceding consonant. So if the precedings, and it's a phenomenon, it's called assimilation. Yeah, so just like we can accommodate to one another's speech, also consonants within a word, they can what we call show assimilation, so that one consonant becomes more similar to another consonant in pronunciation.
Yeah.
And so when this ed ending, so when it's there is a preceding voiceless consonant, then it comes to be pronounced as voiceless t. Right. For example, in the word asked, where it's clearly t, asked. And why is that then? As I said, because the preceding consonant k is also is voiceless, and therefore the past ending becomes voiceless. Or another example in looked, for instance, which is also with k.
Right.
Yeah. However, when there's a preceding consonant that is voiced, then the past ending will be pronounced as voiced d. And it's called assimilation. So it's assimilates, it becomes more similar to the preceding consonants regarding the voiced versus voiceless feature. Yeah. And you find that this process of assimilation is a wider phenomenon. So you find it also, for instance, I used the word already, the word handbag, for instance. Right. So when they pronounce it very carefully, handbag, but if I do it in more natural, more rapid speech, then I may pronounce this word handbag. Where's my handbag? Actually, I don't have very many, but I'm not likely to look for one. But if I was looking for one, where's my handbag? So d is not pronounced, and also then becomes more like handbag, because of the following bilabial b. Right. Yeah, so sounds become more similar. Yeah, so it's good observation.
I know that's
very advanced. Yeah,
very technical question.
Yes.
She has another one. I mean,
right.
She says in the vowel length, I understand then before p, the sound, it's a little shorter sound than before b, and with the same kind with k and g. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yeah.
So here, it's not a matter of assimilation or anything, but it's indeed a property of English specifically, and not of my native language, Dutch, for instance.
Yeah.
That so you have inherent vowel length in English. So some vowels are long and some vowels are short. But in addition to this, vowels generally, so no matter whether they're short or long, they're pronounced a little longer before a voiced consonant. So for instance, indeed, like she said, the difference between voiceless p and voiced b. We have a word like rib, and the vowel is relatively short before p. And in rib, where the word has a final voiced consonant, then the vowel is relatively long. And then indeed, and this is where her two questions tied or come together, is that so you would then say, well, generally, so with the past tense ed ending, so since d is a voiced consonant, the vowel is relatively long, which is true. However, because it is sometimes pronounced t, because of the assimilation to the preceding voiceless consonant, then the vowel is not pronounced longer. So yeah, it's a technical
It's really technical.
story, but yeah. So
I was
also
just
correct
noticing
what she said. Yeah.
that, Edith, can you unmute yourself and let us know if that answered your question? Okay, I can see a thumbs up from Edith.
Okay,
So
I can
she's
see Edith. Yeah.
happy with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm glad you could join us, Edith.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll move on to another question, Laura, which also came through email. Of course, there are a lot of thank yous as well. So we want
Oh,
to
okay, great. Well, and thank you, everybody. Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She says, this is from Isabel. I've been speaking English for 20 years now, but I never tried to correct my accent. And indeed, I have a very strong French accent. It will be, for me, a great achievement to speak like a native English person. Do you think it is possible to one day for me to have a British accent?
Okay, and has she also joined us?
Let me check. Isabel. No, Isabel has.
Oh, okay, because then I would have asked her why she would want to speak with a native
A good
speaker.
question,
But yeah.
But I think that's one of her goals,
Mm-hmm.
that she wants to do that.
Yeah, well, yeah. I guess it is possible. It becomes more difficult the older we get.
Yeah.
There is, and also this is what linguistic research has shown, that there is a kind of critical age for language learning. And you know it perhaps, so it's set around 14 years of age. Yeah, so perhaps you're familiar with children who are raised bilingually. That's, well, your son, for instance.
Yes.
Yeah, so so they seem to have no difficulty, right? Acquiring two or more languages even.
That's great.
And I have a very nice example. I had a friend a friend of mine from the UK. She is from Jordan.
Yes.
And her husband is he is British. So she spoke Arabic with her daughter, and her husband English. And then her daughter, so she acquired English as a native language and Arabic, but also when she speaks with her mother, she speaks, and she speaks in English with her mother, then she speaks English with an Arabic accent. So that's really nice. So they seem to have no difficulty doing this, but for us, it gets more difficult the older we get. So I said, so it's the age of 14, it's said to be like a critical period. So then it becomes more difficult. And also, if we're used to speaking our native language, then to change particular pronunciations or sounds, it's difficult. But yeah, it depends also on how eager you are to have so motivation. Yeah, plays a role as well. So how motivated are you? And this is why I wanted to ask her, why would you want to acquire a native English accent?
We have a lot of speculation happening in the chat. Somebody says likes the sound of it. Someone says maybe it's the goal as a job as a teacher or examiner to sound like one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, to as a teacher, yeah. I also wanted, so where teachers are concerned, so I know that English language teachers that teaching that frequently, so in job adverts that people are, so they're looking for people for native speakers or with a native English accent.
Yeah.
In English language teaching, I would say that they're not necessarily, they can be, but they're not necessarily the best teachers. Right. So sometimes it is an advantage, I think, to teach English and to not have a native English accent, because you can perhaps analyze or understand better what is going on or what is difficult for non-native speakers learning English.
Yeah.
And also, I think if she were a teacher, or any teachers amongst you who are non-native speakers and who are teaching English or teaching pronunciation, I also think that you're very brave.
Yeah.
Because many non-native speakers, they are concerned or worried about their accents, and so they tend to not to teach English pronunciation because they think I don't have a proper or an appropriate English accent myself. So for those of you who are non-native speakers and teaching English pronunciation, I think you're very brave and good that you're doing it.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's something so
So,
important to keep in mind,
mhm.
that it's that as teachers we make ourselves so vulnerable by putting ourselves out there and
Mhm.
sharing this information that we have and sharing the knowledge and helping others grow.
Yeah.
That that it is indeed, you know, it's being brave, you know, to put yourself out there like that.
Yeah, yeah. So to come back to the question, so it depends on a range of different factors that are known from language learning. So age is a factor. Also, it just seems to be that people differ as to their kind of ability to acquire language. Yeah, some people are just more like language persons than others are, and motivation,
Yeah.
and the time that you can spend
Yes.
on practicing. But I think it's certainly it's certainly not impossible to acquire a near native like accent. And I also wanted to say, because now we've been talking a lot about non-native accents and all that, but I do still also have in my regular pronunciation class students who wish to acquire like a more standard British English accent or general American, and also that is perfectly fine. Huh? If you have good reasons, for instance, because you're aiming or aspiring to have a particular job where
Right.
this is required,
Yes.
then perfectly understandable.
Yes.
And also, as we've been saying, it's just unfortunate that there is this particular attitude towards non-native accents of English. And again, I'm trying to change this together with
Yeah.
fellow linguists, and also very much by presenting this course. And so it may be useful for you to know or to be able to pronounce particular features in a more standard-like manner. It's just as for self-protection.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
I have one, this probably will be the last question because we've got some other things to address as well. This is from Shireen Sheikh. She says, as a teacher, I find it difficult to teach the sound per to Arabic students as they do not have this sounds. I believe they have bur rather than per. How can I help? They keep saying ben instead of pen after checking several times. Any tips for people who do not have that particular alphabet or sound in their language?
Yeah, it's just it's very difficult because when you do not have a particular sound, so this is then this particular example, but where you do not have a particular sound,
yeah, then it's really
in your language, then yeah. So first of all, it's like a conceptual kind of thing. Then it's difficult to understand or to grasp that there is such a sound at all. Yeah, that there is such a sound at all, and also then it's very difficult to hear it. I think it requires a lot of ear training to actually be able to make the difference.
Right.
So this is what what I do myself. So we do a lot of listening.
Right. So first to fathom what that sound is, and then try to imitate or copy it so that you can produce it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like a twin approach then.
Yeah. Yes.
So Shireen, hopefully that answers your question, that a twin approach would help with this. We have some exciting bits that are left because we are almost in the last 10 minutes. So we held a little small, I wouldn't say competition, but more like we are giving out a free upgrade. And I was wondering, Laura, if you could share who has received this free upgrade and share it with all 36 people who have joined us today.
Yeah. Yeah. So first of all, I wanted to say, so with that we have appreciated all comments that we had in this course. Yeah, so it's difficult to actually pick one person.
Yeah.
And it's also not to say that he or she provided the best comment or whatever. It's So it's always, so I just wanted to say thank you to everybody for all of your comments, and to commenting on one another's comments, and to helping each other out. But we decided to award Ross Vangas for
I can see Ross's reaction right now.
yeah. Because she has because of her comments, so she was the also the one who asked the question about the standard British English accent, and the kind of inspired to debate regarding this question, and also because she has been a very active participant. So we wanted to say especially thanks to her. Yes.
So heartiest congratulations, Ross.
Yes.
Ross, can I invite you to unmute it?
Thank you so very much for this.
Mm-hmm.
I really didn't expect it. I was just very happy to be here
Mm-hmm.
and learn from everybody. So
That's great.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rupp, and thank you very much, Amrita. I'm very, very honored. And my intention here in participating in this MOOC was to become more aware of what I need to improve for my goals.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, my particular goals. I understand that nobody has the same goals. Unfortunately, my job is very demanding.
Yeah.
And I have learned so much from you and from all the participants. I'm a teacher, so I can't help helping others. It's part of what we do.
Yeah.
And I also appreciate the help that I have received, not only from you, but also from the rest of the participants. They have been very supportive and very, very helpful. This one MOOC has been the best I've ever been, not only in terms of content, but in terms of involvement and in terms of creating a sense of community.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very happy that I joined. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ross. Well said. Yeah.
Thanks a lot. I'm very humbled. Thank you.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll offer a little bit about how we chose Ross. We have something called a facilitation dashboard, in which when you offer a comment or there is a lot of participation and replies to that, we get notified so that we can follow the threads. But we also monitor to see if everything's done in a civil and respectful manner. Yeah, so we noticed Ross's name again and again, and I have been reading Ross's your comments throughout, and I find them very enriching and very useful. So you were a clear winner for us in all 3 weeks. Like you were like topping our charts. So so thank you for being part of this course. I mean, and I hope this upgrade helps you help other people, you know, so that you can, you know, the idea is that we go on spreading this community and helping other people as well.
Yeah, we definitely will. Yes, yes. I run a pronunciation course for teachers of English. So this will be very, very helpful, not only for me, because it will mean that I can retribute, you know, to the community in general. And that's my goal. Yes. Thank you very much.
You're most welcome, Ross.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Laura, as we go into week 4,
yeah, I just wanted to say 2 things before we move to week 4. Before I forget. Yeah, one thing was that 2 things. One thing was that I wanted to say that what I appreciate or really makes me very, very happy. Many things that Ross said, but especially also that she thought that the participants and hopefully us including, that we've been forming like a kind of community together. And this is very important to us.
Yes.
And it's also a challenge doing it via a MOOC, but on the other hand, then via a MOOC, we can reach so many different people in the world. So I think that's really an advantage of the MOOC. The second thing I wanted to say that the material that we created, if you think it's useful, it's like, what do you call it? Open access, or it's not copyright or anything. So you can use all the material, the exercises, everything. And this is not only true for Ross, but everybody else that can use the material. And I hope that you will use it if you find it useful in courses that you are teaching or in the further development of your English pronunciation. So this is what I wanted to say. And the third thing before we go to move on to the week 4, also wanted to say that we receive comments where people point out little errors or mistakes in the material in the MOOC, and we're very happy that we're not happy that we made that mistake or that error so much. But it was a lot of work, so there are likely to be some errors or inconsistency or whatever. So if you spot one, we just very much welcome you sharing that with us. So we would also like to thank you for improving the MOOC then together.
Indeed, that's very generous of you, Laura, to give out your intellectual property so willingly. Not everybody does that. So really, thank you. Thank you for that. Graham says it might be worthwhile to start a MOOC alumni. We are on Facebook. Please come and join us there. We'll happily chat with you on Facebook.
Yeah, that's totally true.
Please do remember there is just one me and one Laura, and there are 11,000 of you. So I'll try my best, but of course we try and read as many comments as we can. Laura, I want to ask you, going into week 4, what would be your message to our participants? What do they need to keep in mind?
Yeah, so for week 4, so in week 4 we were discussing another topic within English pronunciation. So it's more about, not about individual sounds, but then we're moving on to suprasegmental features, as they're called. So word stress, so stress patterns, and also intonation. And then at the end of that week 4, there's another opportunity to do a recording. And I think, so what I would advise is for you to think about, because you will have been presented and thought about so many different features in your accent, to adopt or adjust all of these things that you were thinking about. That would just be too much.
Sorry about that, Laura.
No, that's okay. That would just be too much, right? To work on every or all the features that you've been thinking of. So I would say do 1 or 2 in your second recording, and say in your second recording, when making the second recording, say, I'm focusing on these 1 or 2 features, right? And then later on, you can work on any other features that you would like to work on. And I would also say, try then to, it would be great if then you not only submitted your own recording, but also peer reviewed another person's recording, and give the best feedback that you can. And yeah, so that would be my advice.
Right. Laura, thank you so much for joining us for today's session. I know that I know personally that Laura is super busy right now, running so many interesting lectures and courses here at the Freie Universität. She's a much sought after lecturer and educator. So thank you for taking out the time to do this. And
I also wanted to thank Amrita, because I think most of you have been corresponding with Amrita, and so she's a mentor in this MOOC, and I think she's just the best mentor I could ever wish for. And I think that Amrita, that she, and it's really true, I think that she really makes this MOOC happen. So I want to say thanks so much, Amrita, for that.
Oh, thank you. Most welcome. It's an absolute pleasure. I wish I could answer to everybody personally. I try to, but you know, when you see like over 700 comments, you're sort of like, there goes my Saturday. But I enjoy reading the comments immensely. I mean, I think we have a very special bunch of people with us for this MOOC. We are happy to help them learn and grow. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks
we
so much.
are recording this, so we will edit it because it's going to be fairly long. So we're going to edit it and then put it up online and send you the link. Thank you so much. Okay. Laura and I will stay till the end of the meeting, so you can wave to us and say bye and leave. Thank you.
Bye everyone. Thanks so much for joining. Bye. Have a good day. Bye-bye. Bye. Bye, Graham.
So many wonderful comments. I love you all, says Kay. We love you too, Kay. We love you very much.
Bye. See you.
See you. Congratulations, Ross.
Yeah. And we'll be in touch, Rose, about the the award. Yeah.
We have 3 participants
Mm-hmm.
left, so hopefully they can okay, 2 left.